The hidden cost of being hard on yourself. If you are listening to this, you are likely exhausted. I'm not talking about the kind of tired that a long weekend can fix. I'm talking about bone-deep, 3 p.m. crash, brain fog fatigue. Most of us blame the external world. We blame our demanding bosses, our endless commutes, or the fact that we didn't get enough sleep last night. But there is a silent, internal energy leak that you have probably been ignoring your entire adult life. It is the internal courtroom. It is that voice that starts a trial the second you make a mistake, and it doesn't stop until you are found guilty of being a fraud. Today, we aren't just talking about being kind to yourself for the sake of it. We are talking about biological resource management. I am going to show you why your self-criticism is not a motivator. It is a physical toxin. And by the end of this episode, I'm going to give you a protocol to flush that toxin out of your system in exactly 90 seconds. You're listening to Your Space Today, the podcast where we decode fatigue, stress, and burnout so you can rise again. Every Tuesday, we explore the hidden connections between your habits, your health, and your happiness, giving you the tools to take back your energy and your life. If you are a high performer, you likely have a drill sergeant living in your head. You've been told that being your own toughest critic is the edge that keeps you from being mediocre. But there is a biological price to pay for that edge. Your brain cannot distinguish between a physical threat, like a car swerving into your lane, and a verbal threat you tell yourself. When you tell yourself, "I'm so stupid for missing that deadline," your amygdala, which is a tiny almond-shaped part of your brain that acts as your smoke detector, screams, "Fire." This detector immediately triggers a chain reaction called the HPA Axis. Think of this as your body's internal emergency broadcast system. It links your brain, the hypothalamus and pituitary, to your adrenal glands. The second that switch is flipped, your body dumps a cocktail of cortisol and adrenaline into your bloodstream. These are survival chemicals. Your heart rate climbs to pump blood to your muscles. Your digestion shuts down because your body thinks it doesn't need to process lunch if it's fighting for its life. Your blood sugar spikes to give you a burst of energy for a fight that isn't actually happening. Because there is no physical enemy to fight, those stress hormones have nowhere to go. They don't get used up, they just circulate. In psychology, we call this affective rumination. Research shows that when you critique your character after a mistake, your body stays in this high alert state for hours. You aren't just thinking a bad thought, you are literally marinating your internal organs in stress chemicals. This is why you're exhausted by noon. You've been at war with yourself since the moment you woke up. Let's look at Oliver. Oliver is 42, a senior VP, the person everyone in the office relies on. From the outside, Oliver is winning. But Oliver has a secret energy drain. I call it the parking garage audit. It's 7:30 p.m. on a Tuesday. The big presentation went well. His team actually congratulated him. But Oliver is sitting in his car in the dark parking garage, hands gripped on the steering wheel, engine off. He's replaying a 4-second moment from 3 hours ago where he hesitated on a question from the CEO. "Why did I stumble there? I looked like an amateur. He knows I'm faking it. I'm a fraud, and it's only a matter of time before they all see it." Oliver believes this is discipline. He thinks he's analyzing the data to do better next time. But Oliver is actually practicing identity displacement. This means he is taking a small, fixable mistake, like a stutter, and displacing his entire identity onto it. He isn't looking at the slide or the data, he is attacking his very soul as if he is the error. When Oliver does this, something happens in his brain. The prefrontal cortex, that's the front part of your brain responsible for logic, creativity, and planning, actually loses blood flow. Under the stress of his own self-attack, that logical center shuts down. By attacking himself, Oliver is literally making himself less capable of fixing the problem next time. He's sitting in that parking garage until 8:15 p.m., not because he's working, but because his brain is stuck in a shame loop that has no exit sign. He is burning the fuel he needs for tomorrow's work just to punish himself for today's. If you are listening to this and you feel like Oliver, you're probably afraid. You're afraid that if you stop being a drill sergeant, you'll lose your drive. Let's correct that right now. There is a massive scientific difference between self-reflection and rumination. Self-reflection is a what process. It's objective. It looks at a specific behavior. It says, the transition on slide 5 was clunky. I'll spend 10 minutes on it tomorrow morning. Because there is a plan, the brain feels safe. The stress response stops. Rumination, however, is a who process. It's emotional. It looks at your identity. It says, I am clunky. I am a failure. Research from Yale University is clear. Rumination actually prevents problem solving. It's like trying to fix a complex car engine while someone is standing over you screaming that you're a bad driver. You can't focus on the tools because you're too busy defending your ego. Self-compassion is not soft. It is physiological regulation. It is the all-clear signal for your nervous system. It tells your body, the threat is over. You can start digesting your food again. You can safely go to sleep now. It allows your body to produce melatonin, that's your natural sleep hormone. Without that signal, your brain stays awake looking for the monster in the room, even when that monster is just your own voice. Let's look at how this internal courtroom drama destroys your 4 pillars. This is where the burnout becomes a cycle. First, fuel. When you attack yourself, your brain goes into survival mode. This mode is incredibly energy-intensive. It demands quick glucose, sugar, to fuel the war. This is why you find yourself demolishing a bag of chips or craving chocolate at 9 p.m. after a stressful day. It isn't a lack of willpower, it's a biological request for energy to keep the shame loop running. Second, mind. Under chronic self-criticism, you lose cognitive flexibility. This is the brain's ability to switch between thinking about 2 different concepts and to see multiple solutions to a single problem. When you attack yourself, your brain enters a narrow focus state. You get stuck in one repetitive story, the story where you are the problem. Research shows that self-critical states measurably reduce activity in the parts of the brain responsible for perspective and judgment. You literally cannot see the solution because you are too busy being the defendant in your own trial. The attack acts like a mental blinker, cutting off your peripheral vision. You stop being creative and start being defensive. Third, rhythm. If you audit your failures while lying in bed, you are telling your nervous system, we are under attack. This suppresses melatonin, making your sleep shallow. You wake up the next morning with higher baseline cortisol, which makes you even more reactive and even harder on yourself. Fourth, movement. When your confidence drops from identity attacks, you move less. You cancel the walk. You skip the gym. And because you aren't moving, your body can't process and flush out those stress hormones. The pillars don't fall one at a time. they collapse together. So, how do we break a habit that feels like part of our personality? We don't use positive thinking. That's a Band-Aid. We use neuro-linguistic labeling. Here is your 3-step protocol for the next 24 hours. Step 1. Externalizing the label. The moment you hear that voice say, "I'm a failure," stop. Do not argue with it. Instead, label what is happening as if you are an observer. Say to yourself, "I am noticing a thought that I am a failure," or "I am experiencing a shame loop." Notice the difference? You aren't saying, "I am a failure." You are stating a fact about a temporary experience. This is what neuroscientists call affect labeling. It moves the electrical activity from your emotional amygdala to your logical prefrontal cortex. You are naming it to tame it. Step 2. The data shift. Strip the adjectives. Replace the identity attack with a behavior audit. Don't say, "I'm so disorganized." Say, "I didn't block time for that task on Monday." Data is fixable. It's a to-do list. Identity is a life sentence. Your brain stops defending and starts problem-solving the second you switch to data. Step 3. The 90-second chemical flush. Neuroanatomist Dr. Jill Bolte-Taylor discovered that when a person has an emotional reaction, there is a chemical process that happens. It takes exactly 90 seconds for those stress chemicals to be surged through your system and then completely flushed out of your blood. If you feel the heat of shame or anger at yourself, set a timer. For 90 seconds, just breathe. Don't feed the story. Just feel the physical sensation. If you are still upset at 91 seconds, it is because you have restarted the loop with your thoughts. Let the first 90 seconds finish the job. You are not your mistakes. You are the person who observes the mistakes. When you replace hostility with precision, you don't lose your edge. You find your flow. Self-criticism is a story you've been told. Behavior change is a plan you create. Today, I want you to choose the plan. Your challenge for the next 24 hours is simple. Catch just one identity critique. The moment you hear, "I'm so slow," or "I'm so forgetful," pause. Label the behavior, not yourself. Close the loop. Protect your pillars. Because the most powerful thing you can do for your performance is to finally learn how to be on your own side. You've been listening to Your Space Today. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with one person who is their own toughest critic. Until next Tuesday, protect your rhythm, stabilize your pillars, and speak to yourself with the same kindness you would offer a friend. Your Space Today is published every Tuesday at 6 p.m. For detailed information, disclaimers, scientific references, visit the links below this podcast. This podcast is for educational purposes only and does not constitute medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult with your healthcare provider regarding any health concerns.